Oh my God. Hi, everybody. We're back. We're back for part 2, episode 19. Dustin's here.
I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
A week later.
Part of me is like, is that really surprising? Nope, not at all. Okay, so we're gonna get through this. Like I said last week, I listened to our episode like a few times. Like,
it was pretty good. I only
like
listened to it
5 or
once.
6 times I listened to it. Yeah, I like to listen to the episodes repeatedly, especially when I have That's what it helps me with my reference, because my drink too much, my memory is not great.
Makes sense.
So sometimes, like when I reference things, it's because like it wasn't that long ago I listened to the episode. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
I listened to the episode this morning, but I also just kind of like sometimes when I'm working out, I'll just have my episodes playing. And
it makes sense.
It
Like
kind of helps
and
with
also
recall.
like it also helps you kind of be able to critique yourself in the aftermath,
Mm-hmm.
because then like by the time you're listening to it for the 4th time, you're listening to it from a different ear, and you're like, okay, wait, I can improve here. This could get better.
And where I mess up information wise, like, because, obviously when you're drinking during the podcast, or like last time we were high, you can kind of find yourself in those like, oh shit, I said the wrong thing. So sometimes it kind of helps me to do part 1s and part 2s, because then when I do the part 2, I can make those corrections.
You can fact check yourself.
For sure.
Makes sense
And
to
one
me.
correction I definitely want to make is when I asked you if, what was your last episode? And your last episode was Ed Gein.
Oh, okay.
And that was episode 5.
Oh,
Yeah. So it had been a minute.
it's been a minute.
And because Vicky Morgan was Kira and Sal. So I remembered it being 2 people, and I just assumed it was you.
That was actually
You
a really
all
good
did.
episode
It
too,
was. That was thick.
That was a good episode.
We talked some shit in that
That
episode.
was a good episode.
That one got
actually now
personal.
that I didn't remember the top. That episode was good.
That episode was good. I liked Vicky Morgan. Vicky Morgan was a very interesting topic to also get into. She was a phenomenal. She reminded me of Gia Karanji. Remember Gia?
Nope.
The movie Angelina Jolie played a model.
Yes, I remember
Back
Gia.
in like 97, 98 or whatever. She kind of gave me that. Like she had power, but not at the same time.
I mean,
like
she had some influence, and like she knew some people that knew some people. And
yeah, but she was also like
she moved in
very
the right spaces.
young in those spaces. And, a lot of the time that's what ends up being the issue. Because I feel like had Vicky Morgan got into her situation as more of an adult, she probably would have handled that situation much, much better.
Oh,
but now,
facts.
I mean, some grown ass man picking you up at like fucking 16, or 100%. I think she may have been 15. That makes, I mean, he's at that point, he's grooming you.
Yeah.
In
you might think you're in control.
most
but you're really
important
not.
years.
I think that, we all make that mistake when we're younger. Like, oh yeah, I got this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just as mature as them. And
You don't.
In retrospect,
No,
like,
hell no.
nah.
Because at 40s, like you think of some of the shit that you would say or do, and you're like, I would slap the fuck out of a kid.
100%. Like, it's not gonna work.
This kid gonna get their feelings hurt.
Like,
So anyway,
Okay.
we're gonna go because I got to pick up my baby.
and I gotta go to the gym.
And he's got to go to the gym. Look at you being good.
I'm trying.
All right, so thank you for joining us. The cocktail, I think it was a forbidden sour. It was basically like a whiskey sour with pomegranate. I'm actually not. I'm having a.
Is there egg white
I'm
in there?
having no, it's not.
Oh, what's
What's
the
crazy?
frothy?
It's lemon. It's just lemon juice.
Okay.
But I did my typical. I was gonna do my typical lemon drop, but then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna put some Hennessy White in it, and it is fire.
Okay.
The Hennessy kind of helps add to, because I was running out of simple syrup too. So it kind of add to the sweetness, and it cut the lemon a little bit. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I only got 2 bottles of that left. I bought 6.
I know. I remember I was there.
I gave my granddad 2 in my defense.
Okay. So you're only drinking 2.
Wait a minute. Did I buy 6 or 8?
No, I feel like you bought 6.
Okay, 6. Because I definitely feel like I gave Jerron 1 for sure. So I gave away 3.
Oh, so you only drank 1.
Yeah,
That's
you're
not
right.
bad. And that was like 2 months ago.
It was. I did pretty good.
See, look
at me being
job.
better. All right, but thank you all for coming back. And if you held on, which I hope you did, I hope you did not listen to part 1, because you are not going to remember shit, and I am not going to do that much recapping. I'm going to mention certain names, and
you definitely should pause now
just
and
don't
go back to listen to part 1.
Don't, or just listen to part 1 again.
Or
with
that.
part 2. You could do that.
Yeah.
Because some people just like to vibe with us.
I'll probably listen to both again when I listen to part 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know I definitely will.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, you listened to part 1 again today.
So, but that was one correction. The other correction that I wanted to make was when I said that Leonard moved to Gate. Now, the book actually says he moved to Gate, California. But then when I was talking to Sal about it, he moved to Galt, G-A-L-T. So I don't know if that was an editorial fuck up or if the city or state was like, take us the fuck out your book. I don't know.
Got it.
I don't know. But it was actually Galt. So I wanted to correct that too. And I don't think anything else crazy happened, but the Ed Gein thing was irritating me because I was like, why the fuck did I say Vicky Morgan when he was on Ed Gein?
Yeah, no, because me and what episode did me and Sal
Mitrice
do?
Richardson.
Yeah.
That's what you and Sal did. And that was last season.
I remember I said that though. I was like, when you said Sal, I was like, wasn't that last? I said, was it last season? And you were like, no, it was this season. And I was like, okay.
We were talking about Ed Gein.
Oh,
we were talking about Ed Gein was this season.
Yeah.
And it was just so early in the season. And maybe too, because in the beginning of the season, you did Vampire of Sacramento with me. You did part 1 and part 2 then.
Yeah.
So maybe we would, I don't know. Because then we went on a trip and then I think my mom was in town and I was just doing episodes by myself.
Yeah. You didn't have a lot of,
So, okay. All right, cool. Now, whatever. If you don't know who the fuck Leonard Lake and Charles Ng is, yo bag, go to episode 1. Don't listen to anything else. Just stop. Just stop
Unless
right
you
now.
like reading the end of the book first.
Sure. Some people are like that. My mom watches her television shows backwards.
Okay.
Yeah. She likes to, for some reason, she likes to know in advance whether or not the show is a waste of time. I don't know how she does it. It's how her brain works.
Okay. I'm thinking the end of the show.
Yep. And I mean, how do you piece it together? It's like she'll watch the end of a season and then she'll be like, that seems interesting. And then she'll go back and see how it happened. Don't even try to make it make sense. It doesn't.
I mean,
it doesn't. So, moving on.
Okay.
Now, okay, so we're talking about Leonard Lake and Charles Ng. Now, I'm not going to give a synopsis, but I will tell you this. Leonard Lake, as we know, is a sadomasochistic piece of dog shit that wants to basically enslave women and have them as his sexual freak dummies.
AKA a pimp.
A pimp. He was a pimp. He was pimping for a little while, and then he ends up, started getting weird. That part. But he also has a cohort. His cohort is Charles Ng, a dude that he finds in the Vietnam Times. That he's like, hey, you want to come abuse women with me? Sure. So, okay, so that's where we are with that. Where we ended, though, is I read part of a transcript of the videotape of Miss Kathy Allen being basically psychologically tortured prior to her demise. So like I said, when I mention names, I am going to, even just to help me and Dustin, I'm going to make sure that I tell you who they are and where they came from, just as a refresh. Okay, so at the end of part 1, Leonard Lake gets arrested with Charles Ng, and he literally kills himself.
That's cyanide.
He takes a pill of cyanide, something that he has threatened to use.
I just didn't believe it.
He didn't believe it like a motherfucker, but a lot of people didn't. Leonard Lake was 39 years old when he did that.
Oh, that's next year.
Don't even. I mean, that's not bad.
That. Not bad.
So after Leonard Lake was arrested, Charles Ng booked it. He booked it to Canada. He was like, getting the fuck up out of here. Now, officers searched Lake's vehicle, and he was arrested for possessing a firearm with an illegal silencer. Now, the vehicle's license plate was registered to Lonnie Bond, which was one of the victims. But the Honda's VIN number was linked to Paul Costner, another victim. So it seems that they switched probably the VIN plates.
Numbers, yeah, it was like, we'll take those plates, put them on this car.
Yeah. Now, a utility bill found in the car led detectives to Leonard Lake's Wowseyville property. Okay, so Cricket is Clara Lynn.
Name you like.
I love Cricket. I think that name is so cute. Cricket, Leonard's girlfriend, gave the inspector, who was Inspector Brunn of the San Francisco Police Department, she gave her a key to the property. and permission to search the premises. Now, mind you, the property that they were at was actually Crickett's. It was owned by her dad.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah.
So, Now, quote, inside the living room, Inspector Brunn discovered 2 pieces of equipment, including a VCR that had been missing from the Dubs residence. The inspector called her office and provided them with the serial number of the VCR and confirmed that it was from the Dubs residence. At that point, Cricket revoked her permission for the officers.
Serial numbers on their VCR?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she had the VCR in her possession.
I know, but if somebody sold your VCR, would you be able to tell?
Well, remember, we'll get to that because remember, the Dubs they sold video equipment.
Okay.
So now at that point, Cricket revoked her permission for the officers to search the properties. The officers left the house. They secured the premises and they went ahead and got a search warrant. They were like, fine, you don't want to give us permission? We got grounds to search it now. Yeah, you got a dead man stolen.
You opened it up. You opened Pandora's box. Too late. Stupid.
And 2, like, you got a dead man, well, really a dead man's family's shit in your house. Not good.
You probably should have kept letting them search Cricket.
Yeah.
Kept yourself out of that.
They started the investigation. Now, the investigation lasted 5 weeks, and it involved 4 law enforcement agencies. They were not fucking around because we're talking about all sorts of jurisdictions now.
Yeah, and cross-border state lines, probably kidnapping. That's federal.
Now, there they discovered Stapley and Bond's trucks. Again, ignore the names because we're going to talk about who they are. Stapley and Bond, they found their trucks, and then they found a bunker, and they were like, oh, what the fuck is this? Now, these small cramped rooms were used to imprison victims. The cells were soundproof to prevent the screams and the cries of the victims. And the bunker contained 3 rooms, 2 of which were behind a hidden doorway. One of the hidden rooms contained a bed, a desk, dressers, and some food. The second room was approximately 7 by 3 feet and enclosed by a wooden door. Inside that room was a small bed with a foam pad on it, a plastic bucket, a roll of toilet paper, and a small lamp. Now, the door inside the small room could only be opened from the outside. So Lake's journals from 1983 and 1984 were also found, and 2 videotapes were found. Lake kept detailed notes of what he called, like we talked about in part 1, the Miranda Project, which outlined his plans to capture and control women. These notebooks contained a lot of fantasies.
Why are we writing things down? People are stupid.
Because he wasn't planning on living through it.
Oh, good point. He was like, catch me.
To him, it's his manifesto.
It is his manifesto.
So he disturbing fantasies, the guidelines for the operation, some of the personal belongings of the victims were found in the bunker, including the clothes, the ID, the personal effects, and these items were kept as trophies, as most serial killers keep trophies.
But he was also killing men, right? All of a sudden?
He was, but the thing about him killing men was that he was not raping the men. He was just killing them, get them out the way.
Got it. Okay.
So he can take the women. Now, the walls of the chamber were decorated with posters and like images that reflected all the fantasies of Lake and Ng. They also included the rules. Now, I don't know if you all listened to my Toy Box Killer episode. I actually did that episode with Sal. The sadistic motherfuckers like this love having fucking a list of commandments of how you should behave while you're in the dungeon.
That makes sense.
1, must always be ready to service my master. I must be clean, brushed, and made up with my cell neat. 2, I must never speak unless spoken to. Unless in bed, I must never look at my master in the eye, but must keep my eyes downcast. 3, I must never show my disrespect, either verbally or silent. I must never cross my arms or legs in front of my body or clench my fists. And unless eating, must always keep my lips parted.
That's
confusing.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe because you're always ready for dick to go in it.
I guess, but like,
I don't know
how.
Like, oh, you guys can't see me because we're on video.
Yeah,
but, I have my list
soon. I'm 4. I must be obedient completely and in all things. I must obey immediately and without question or comment. 5, I must always be quiet when locked in my cell. 6, I must remember and obey any additional rules told to me. I must understand that any disobedience, any pain, trouble, or annoyance caused by me to my master will be grounds for punishment.
That's
it's a lot.
I mean, that last rule could have just been all of the rules.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been an all-encompassing rule.
Like you just
but at that point, it's psychological. Like you walk into this sex dungeon and you're like, you got, what the fuck?
The 10 commandments on the wall, whatever you want to call them.
Now, the chamber contained makeshift beds. That's where the victims were restrained. They were stained. And they showed signs of what was going on down there.
That's
like,
gross.
yeah.
I'd be more disturbed by that. You can put me in this bed and I got to sleep on all these other people's body fluids. Can I at least get some clean sheets in this?
I probably wouldn't be focused on that, but I see what you mean. That would be the very least of my concerns, but I do understand.
I don't know. You're in a 7x3 room. I don't know. Like,
I mean, because sometimes like you do go into places, you be like, okay, I get it. This is like a lot, but this is also disgusting. Yeah, like, I can't get over how disgusting.
Which one you do here? Never mind. I'm
like,
just gonna die. Just kill me.
Just fucking kill me. Like, now, Lake and Ng used video cameras, obviously, to document the torture and the humiliation of their victims. So several tapes were later recovered showing the sadistic treatment of the women they had held captive. But one tape was a 20-minute manifesto recorded on October 23rd, 1983, where Lake outlined his plans to build a cell, quote unquote, and enslave women. Quote, I'm afraid the bottom line statement is the simple fact that I'm a sexist slob. I enjoy using women, and of course, women aren't particularly interested in being used. I certainly enjoy sex. I certainly enjoy the dominance of climbing on a woman and using her body, but I'm not particularly interested in the id, the ego, all the things that a man should be interested in to complement a woman's need. No, I can fake these motions. I can fake them very well. And in the past, I've been very successful with attracting interesting and attractive women simply because I did fake fairly well an interest in their needs and their requirements. So momentarily, I had what I wanted and they thought they had what they wanted. But in the long term, I don't want to bother.
I just want to fuck.
What I want is an off-the-shelf sex partner. I want to be able to use a woman whenever and however I want. And when I'm tired or satiated or bored or not interested, I simply want to put her away, lock her up in a little room, get her out of my sight, out of my life, and thus avoid what heretofore,
They have sex dolls for that.
They do. Heretofore has always been the obligation to entertain or amuse or satisfy a particular woman or girlfriend's whims of emotional whatevers. Such an arrangement, he confessed, is not only blatantly sexist, but highly illegal. There's no doubt
so
about
self-aware.
that. So self-aware. It violates all human rights and blah of other people's morality.
This is why he wanted to die. There was no chance of
he couldn't be satisfied.
Or there was no chance of the insanity plea.
Oh, hell no.
He was like, I'm going to jail.
It was a wrap.
I'm
going
getting the death
down.
penalty and then some.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, and at that point, it's kind of like you want it. You
literally
like.
I know this is illegal,
but
I know this is wrong,
and then I'm gonna write that I know it wrong.
But I still.
But fuck your morals. So then he goes. It violates all human rights and blah of other people's morality. I'm explaining my morality, what I feel, what I want. And as of this moment, I'm going to try to get it. The advantages of such a situation are, of course, obvious and even beyond sexual. Such a woman, totally enslaved, would be useful for the mundane chores I have to do. But am I not particularly interested in doing? Clean house, washing dishes, etc. A slave. There's no way around it. Primarily a sexual slave, and nonetheless a physical slave as well.
Well, I mean, that's kind of...
Again, another one of those moments where you could have just buried the lead. You could have just.
But he likes to hear himself talk.
Yeah, he does. Clearly. He's a fucking narcissist.
He's like, I want to hear more words.
Yeah. So the other tape, labeled M Ladies, as we know, M stands for Miranda, documented the torture of Kathleen Allen, which I read in part 1. And then there was the torture of Brenda Connor. Now, y'all got to give me my acting moment real quick, but I'm going to explain to you who she is. So, April 19, 1985, Lonnie Bond Sr. and his girlfriend Brenda O'Connor and their son, Lonnie Bond Jr., and the family member, Robin Scott. Remember, they just killed everybody that these motherfuckers knew. Robin Scott Stapley as well. They disappeared. They had recently moved next to Lake, and they had conflicts because Lake was trying to hit on Brenda.
Oh, yes.
Daddy wasn't having it. He came over there with his pistol and was like, we about to fuck everybody up.
Yep,
they were not seen again. Now, this is... yeah, it didn't work out. Now, this was Brenda's tape. This is long.
Magic.
Let me
over
sip.
there with a gun and still not winning.
Oh, my God. I got to sip for this one now. Because I got to play 3 people.
Ooh, okay.
Shine my Oscar.
Let's go.
All right, Leonard. Well, if you must know, I didn't do anything with them. Brenda asks, what did you do with them? I didn't do anything with them. Did you guys kill them? No, we didn't kill them. Are you going to let us go soon? Probably not. Never? What are you going to do? Kill us? That's sort of up to you, Brenda. So then she refers to him as Charles. Charles, if you remember from the last episode, Charles Gunner was his former quote unquote best friend that he also murdered.
Right.
Charles, what are you going to do with us? Why are you doing this? Because we hate you. What did we do to you? Shut up. He says, what a hairy day. Brenda says, gotta get my baby down here. Your baby is sound asleep like a rock.
Yeah, literally.
Brenda, the neighborhood doesn't like you. The neighborhood doesn't like Lonnie. And we haven't liked you since you moved in. So we'll leave. Oh, you've already left. We've closed you down. We got together and we took you away. We took Scott away. Lonnie's going to earn a decent living for the rest of his life, hopefully. I know he is. Your baby is going to be taken away. This is what Lake says. And then he's like breathing heavy. He says, excuse the heavy breathing. What do you mean going to be taken away? And Lake says, there's a family in Fresno that doesn't have a baby. And Brenda says, you're not taking my baby away from me. He's like, they've got one now. And so Charles interjects. It's better than the baby is dead, right?
Well, those are the 2 options.
Exactly. I mean, you're not giving me a lot to work with. He said, well, what do you mean they've got one now? That's my baby. Lake says, Brenda, you have a choice. We'll give it to you right now. What? She asks. You can cooperate with us. And by cooperating with us, what that means is you will stay here as our prisoner. You will work for us. You will wash for us. You will fuck for us. Or you can say, no, I don't want to do that. In which case, we'll tie you to the bed, we'll rape you, and then we'll take you outside and shoot you. Your choice.
Oh. Well, I would probably take choice number 2, though, actually.
The way things are looking, probably.
I'm like, well, fuck it. Let's just get it over with.
Now, Brenda says, I'll cooperate. Ing, that's wise. Lake, that was fast. Ing, very wise. Are you really going to take my baby away from me? Lake, yes, we are. Personally, I don't think you're a fit mother. She goes, where's Lonnie? Lake, they've been taken away. There's a place up in the hills where they'll split wood for the rest of their lives.
That's so rude. Like,
it's so fucking rude. You mean you haven't killed them or anything? No, I haven't killed them. Although if they die, that's their problem. To be honest, I could care less. They had better cooperate too. They're getting the same choice you're getting. To be honest, for all I know, maybe they're dead right now.
Oh.
Is that why you invited us over here for dinner? Uh-huh. Ing interjects. It's part of the game.
It's part of the game.
They're doing a lot of horror movie-esque type shit.
That's
You guys have been such assholes, Brenda. You know, Lonnie hasn't been all that bad. I'll give you that. Except for his shooting. But you've been an asshole. Like, I can't believe. You have been so damn rude for no reason that I can figure. Because she didn't want to fuck you, asshole. Like, she explains.
Told on you because you were her sexually harassing me?
Exactly. She explains, because I can't stand it up here. It's in the middle of nowhere. He goes, Are you going to keep me here the rest of my life or something? Lake says no. To be honest with you, I probably won't keep you here more than a week. But after that, we'll probably pass you around. There's other.
So you won't be here forever, but
you'll be somewhere.
You'll be somewhere.
He says, there's other. She cuts him off. That light's hot. And Lake responds, suffer. It's there's people that are going to want to know that we did our job. Now, let me stop right there, because what's interesting about a statement like that is it reminds me a lot of Colleen Stan, my episode I did on Colleen Stan, where he told her, can't remember his name, but he told her that the company.
Oh, yeah, the company
was watching her.
Because it makes them seem like
it's a bigger thing. So even if you leave me, you're still in trouble.
I feel like I saw that on an episode of Criminal Minds where they talked about like it's typical, manipulation when you're kidnapping. So it's,
And I think I talked about this before, probably many episodes ago, but they claim that William H. Macy. That is an actor, and I like him.
And I like him.
John Wayne Gacy.
Oh.
John Wayne Gacy. There's a documentary called The Clown and the Candyman, I think, where they talk about how Gacy was associated with another criminal as part of like this massive like ring, this national ring, where they were actually possibly getting people involved in like all this fucked up sex cult murder shit.
Isn't that kind of just like sex trafficking to a degree? Like, I mean, ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because even in a documentary, they talk about this. It used to be like some catalog or pamphlet or some shit. They used to postcards. They used to send to people in the mail with little boys on it.
Because John Wayne Gacy was like killing little boys, wasn't he?
Here.
So yeah. So I mean, that makes sense. So I remember I was watching Law and Order,
of course,
straight from the headlines where they had that. What was her name? She was a guest star. Hispanic, heavy accent.
Salma Hayek?
No, not that one.
Okay.
Not her. Ooh.
I know what you mean. It's fine.
That's not what I meant.
I know.
But no, not Salma Hayek.
With thick accent.
She a little bit harder. Like she always plays like more like tough, like kind of hard roles.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name. But anyway, her son was like her husband. She was married to this dude, and he was like, raping her son. Her son didn't want to say anything, and then but they had like this whole like ring of pedophiles.
Oh,
where basically, and it was like a whole thing, and they like. I mean, it was digital at this point, but they would like have like things, and like they would, the dude came. It was like the love cult or something like that.
Yeah,
something to that extent.
But there are so many instances where you hear about. This is bigger than us in these cases. And then you're like, this dude's just full of shit. But sometimes,
but sometimes it's real.
It's totally real because they actually were able to kind of track Gacy back to it. It's a good documentary. I keep saying I'm going to do an episode on this. I think it's called The Clown and the Candyman because the other dude was called The Candyman. All right. So I stopped. But I did want to address that because that very, very much so reminded me of my Colleen Stan episode. The Colleen Stan episode I did last season was The Girl in the Box. I've referenced that a few times.
I actually watched. They have a movie about like a dramatic movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Traumatized.
Okay, so where was I? So then he goes, there's already been some guys that took Lonnie and Scott away. Why do you guys do this? We don't like you. Would you like me to put that in writing?
Like we already told you we don't like you.
Ing says, it's done. Just take whatever we tell you. Brenda goes, I can't do this. We're going to sit back and enjoy ourselves. This is what Lake says. It's been a hectic day. You're going to learn the true meaning of fuckface. What a dick. Standing near the chair, Ing nods. Lake says, where are the monocles? Shackles. The monocles, yeah. Brenda, in her chair. Can you loosen these? She's referring to the handcuffs that are on her. We're going to take them off in a minute, Lake promises. And Brenda asks, You didn't hurt Lonnie, did you? And Ing, since you say you're hot, I'll take it off for you. And he begins to rip at her clothes. And then Brenda is like, what? And then Lake, he's like, well, she should actually take it off herself. But Ing is like still taking her clothes off. And he says, well, with the cuffs on, it's hard.
Oh. Well,
so Lake says, oh, I was going to have you take the cuffs off. Brenda says, I'm not hot.
No,
and then that's when Ing continues to tear her shirt to shreds and leaving it where she only had on a bra.
Okay.
Like, what is happening? So then Lake asks Ing, he's like, where are the monocles, Charlie? Brenda makes another plea and she's like, would you please just go get my baby? You can keep my baby away from me. You can't keep my baby away from me for sex. Lake is totally ignoring all of that. He said, oh, put him on him. He's like talking to Ing, put them on her and then take the cuffs off. And then he finally talks to her. He says, I'm taking your baby
Rosie Perez.
Oh yeah, Rosie Perez. He says, I'm taking your baby because your baby is innocent in this. There's nothing. And then Ing kneels in front of Brenda and he's like, and she says, excuse me. But so am I. You two are crazy. Lake says, well,
understatement.
He goes, well, maybe the whole neighborhood is crazy. The point is, you haven't been particularly innocent while you've been here, Brenda. In fact, you've been something of a first-class asshole. However, we're going to give you an opportunity to make up for this. Ing has a knife now. He starts cutting away at like her clothes. He's like, and Lake goes, you're so crude, Charlie. I actually like that t-shirt. So then Ing interrupts. He says, gone now. Yep. Let's see what we're buying. Lake goes, okay. Brenda asks, what are you going to do? Sell me or something? And then Lake says, no, as a matter of fact, we're not going to sell you at all. We're going to give you away.
I did not know she was going to say that. I am not reading the...
So Ing raises the knife again and he slips it like in between her breasts and he slices her bra in two. And then she goes like, don't cut my bra. And her breasts are exposed. And so Ing says, nothing is yours now. It'll be totally ours. Take your handcuffs off, Charlie. Take her handcuffs off is what Lake says, and let her go out of the chair. So then Ing, okay, you can cry and stuff like the rest of them, but I won't, it won't do you any good. We're pretty cold-hearted, so to speak.
Clearly.
Now, that rest of them fucked him up later.
Oh.
Because, you can't be like, I didn't do shit and implicate yourself in shit that happened in the past. So there's that. Now, Lake cuts in and he says, frankly, I'm as hot as they come. Did you take the cuffs off of her? And Ing answers and he's like, I'll get my weapon handy in case you play something stupid. Oh. And so Brenda, she's kind of feeling this is not going well. She's like, I'm not going to play stupid. I don't want to be killed, Yeah. So Ing said, yeah, that's good. And so Lake, he says, stand up, Brenda. And she hesitates and then she stands up. And he repeats himself. He's like, stand up, stand up. And then she complains again about how hot it is because she's basically saying that this lamp is hot as
this heat
fuck.
Lamp. Turn this fucking heat lamp off.
And he keeps saying, suffer. So off camera, he goes to get something and it kind of looks like a whip. See this, Brenda? I'm going to show you this once. What are you going to do? Beat me? He says, it's very vicious, as a matter of fact. I just might, but if you do exactly as you're told without any fuss, no, not what it's going to be. It's going to be full cooperation or... He's kind of.
I wonder if like his victims didn't fight, right? So like, I like to be whipped. So if I'm like, whip me, like would he be turned off at that
crazy?
point? Yeah, like let's go.
Yeah, It's hard to tell because he could just shoot her. At that point, I feel like it just depends on what you want the outcome.
If I was her, I'm dead anyway in my head. So like,
FBI
says never go to the second location.
Yeah,
kill me here.
I kind of hate to even think about what I would do in a scenario like that, but part of me is kind of like, I don't think I'm the torture me type. I don't think I'm gonna survive torture. I mean, and I know it's easy. It's a blanket statement to be like, I don't like pain. It's like a lot of people don't, but. When it comes to tortured. Yeah, I want to be tortured. And then too, just psychological trauma of like the give and take dynamic that they like to do. They try to make it seem like you're going to survive when you're really not. They try to make it seem like, oh, you're just going to get out of this. It's no big deal. And we're going to cut you loose. It's like, first of all, you've said your name multiple times.
I see your face.
I'm probably not going to get out of this.
Yeah.
And so part of me just wonders if it's less scary to kind of take a little control back and just be like, you know what? Fuck you and fuck that little fat dude over there.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Shoot me in the fucking head.
Let's go right now because I'm done. Because I'm not going to keep playing with you.
Because I'm not going to survive this. It's obvious. And
I'm good on the rest of this shit.
Shoot me in the fucking head. But then part of me is like, but naturally it's the body
it's the fight or flight.
Kicks into survival mode. Your fucking nervous system just starts doing all the work and you start kind of, but even for me, I just wonder when that acceptance comes in. Yeah. Or when that acceptance comes in where you're just like, I'm not going to get out of this.
Is it?
Fuck it.
I mean, I hope we never have to find that out.
I don't want to ever find that out.
In my mind, but I mean, I also said that like when I used to do Uber and people were like, what would you do if somebody got in the back of your car and like pulled a gun out? And, I was like, we're gonna see what's gonna happen when I'm doing 90 miles an hour down Ashland.
Like, when I run into this tree,
you gonna shoot me? Because if you shoot me, we flipping.
Yeah.
So what you want to do? Because I'm just as crazy as you at this.
Because I will drive us into this lake before I let you fucking
Now, I mean, would I really do that?
Who knows?
I don't know. Probably not. I'll probably hey, go take my car.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care that much.
I sometimes feel like it's easier.
Let's go drive us to a police station. What you gonna do?
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like it's a little easier to think about what you would do to strangers. Like if it was just a strange person in your car versus somebody that you knew. Sometimes, or even like when you hear about domestic violence situations where women haven't, where they couldn't really. Yeah. It's because they knew that person, they love that person, they may have had kids with that person. It's a different experience. But when I'm thinking about just like some strange motherfucker who's inconveniencing me like that, I think I would muster up some gangster.
I mean, I think you would. I mean, you jumped off a bus and ran after somebody when they snatched your.
That's facts.
So I
did do that.
So I mean, you're right. I definitely think that you would probably
on like fucking 50.
You're gonna fight, not flight.
In Ashland. Yeah, that was at night.
At night. And you're like Tory Burch boots.
Oh my god! I was in Hunter rain boots and a floor length North Face coat.
So yes, I definitely think that your fight would come in before your flight.
Yeah, especially for somebody I don't care for.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I feel like if I really need to, I can get nasty if I could just pull it out of me because it's there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's there for everybody. I think it's just
I think this woman is also probably thinking and hoping that her baby is still alive.
Probably.
I think there's
there's the aspect, right? Because you're, I guess as a parent, you're probably thinking past yourself. I guess both of us are single individuals.
Absolutely. We're only thinking about ourselves.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's okay. Just kill me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I ain't got nobody anyway. But if you think of like a parent like she has a new baby. She has an infant. She's probably hoping, I'm going to do what they tell me.
Because I want my baby back.
And I want my baby back. So then he goes, are you ready for your shower, kid? And then Charlie is like, yeah. Now, they think, shower? No. They think he's referring to her jeans and her underwear when he says this, but he's like, take them off and run her in. And in a very fearful voice, Brenda asks, she's like, I'm going to take a shower. And then Lake is like, uh-huh. And then Ing is like, clean you up. And so Lake continues. He's like, actually, you're both going to take a shower. So Ing, he says, yep, I always do that. It's luckier.
Okay.
Then Lake says, see, Charlie owes me one. So I get you first, but he's got his heart set on taking a shower with you. So who am I to turn him down? And so that's when Charlie says to her, you want to take a shower with leg irons on or... And Lake says, no, take them off. Okay. He kneels to remove her ankle chains. And at this point, he goes, I think she believes us. You better believe us, Brenda, or you'll be dead. And Ing says, right. Oh, so Lake gives Brenda an order. He says, take your jeans off. In fact, take your panties off too while you're at it. And Ing goes, why don't you do it yourself while I do mine? And so Lake says, stand up and take your jeans off. She rises. She takes off her clothes. She's like, can I do it over here? It's really hot. Like, it's really hot.
I wish she would quit. I hate to say, I wish she would quit complaining about this heat at this point.
I mean, this lamp, because my thing is, I think
you're
she's
in a 7x3 room, I guess.
Yes,
like,
it's hot. And they in fucking California.
Oh, good point. In a bunker.
And so she basically tells him, she says, I'm getting dizzy. He's like, I don't care. Do what you're told. And then she says, I'm going to pass out. I feel dizzy. I'm hot. I'm afraid and I'm hot. She's like, the anxiety is kind of kicking my ass. And so she's like, could we just like wait until I'm not dizzy anymore? And eventually they go and they're like, we'll give you a few seconds to, they try to get her some water. They move her to the couch. She's complying. They're complying because now they're just trying to make sure she's good. But she's shaking and she's dizzy. My assumption is possibly heat stroke mixed with anxiety. And
Sounds like you.
And then she goes, Ing says, well, you can pass out, but we're just going to wake you up. So then Lake goes, Brenda, I have a lot of animosity against you, and I would just as soon start you out with a nice firm whipping right now to make you believe how serious we are. And so Ing backs him up and he says, this thing would hurt, believe me. Ing is like bad cop.
I know. I'm kind of curious to know
cop.
Who the power dynamic is here. Mm-hmm. Like usually, when you have a group, a duo serial killer, a partnership, one is like, but they almost seem
equal. I think they do. From what I can tell, they play this play when they have victims. Ing is kind of, I hate to say this, and if you're Asian, please don't get offended. He's the primitive savage.
Oh.
He's the one that's cutting your clothes off while Lake is sitting there in the corner talking to you in his, overly professional voice.
So Lake is probably probably the master. I'm not the master, but he's the dominant.
Lake is the dominant and Ing is the submissive for sure. Because Ing at the end of the day is the one that he kind of treats and controls as if he's a wild animal, like he's a dog.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Take her cuffs off, take her this off. He's controlling him as well.
That's a good point.
So he goes, he's like, this would hurt, believe me. So Lake asks, he says, how would you know? The comment draws a brief chuckle from Ing, they kind of like playing back and forth. And then he's like, slide them down and then sit down. She basically says, she's like, I'm fucking dizzy. What part of you all not understand? I'm too fucking dizzy. So then at that point, that's when Lake, because mind you, I'm describing what's on the tape.
Yeah.
So that's when Lake enters the frame and he has a gun with a silencer. And he, Ing looks at Brenda. He says, yeah, that could be the truth. Her lips are turning pale. And then Lake looks at her. He's like, her lips are pale anyway. And then Ing's like, he asks her, he's like, are you feeling better? You want some water? Trying to act like you give a fuck.
It sounds like they don't want to have sex with somebody that is
sick.
Incapacitated.
Yeah. And so they give her some water. She's like, I'll take something to drink. She's like, I've been sick all day. And then I was like, okay, this is a good move. Because what I think she tries to do, even though she reaches for a cigarette, Lake says, you don't want to smoke that. Didn't you give up smoking? She says, no. He says, you have now. You do.
I don't
clean
want
up.
to smell.
He said, and she started to show like she was about to throw up. He said, you do that, you clean it up. So now he's starting to get like irritated because he doesn't know if this is a ploy to buy time.
Yeah, 100%.
And he kind of they just want to do what they want to do and be done with it.
And now I'm having to give you too much attention.
Now you're frustrating.
Yeah.
So Brenda, she says,
do all the things he doesn't like to do. He doesn't
exactly.
like the niceties.
Exactly. So Brenda says, well, she says, dizzy and sweaty, hot, shaky. Lake finally, He's like, you're right. The room's fucking hot. Fine. Like, he turns on a different light. Then he's like, then Ing comes back with some ice water. Now, Ing, he is like carrying a glass, and in the video, you can hear like the sound of the ice as she's drinking it. And then she's like, oh my God, my ears. She's like, I could just keep hearing shh. So she's either acting or this is just a visceral response to the situation.
It could be either or.
Because he could kill her in the shower. You know what I mean? He's talking about taking her to the shower. And so Lake moves to the couch. He plops down next to Brenda. He starts fondling her breast. He says, now tell me, isn't she a little better than Kathy? Kathy was the woman I read about in part 1.
Yeah.
Ing replies, sorta, maybe a little, basically the same. And then Lake says, no, Kathy was, his voice trails off. And then she says, she just had a baby. She looks okay. But Lake was wrong about this. Brenda had her baby a year prior. So Ing speculates that Brenda was probably a little younger than Kathy. Like this is the conversation. She's a year older.
Just right in front of me, like I am.
And so he speaks quickly. He's like, okay, this isn't the right time for any of this shit because Brenda says, I thought I was pregnant.
Okay.
She's like, I don't know. I've been feeling like this for a couple of days. Hello? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that going to keep y'all?
Like maybe
Ing's like, not the right time for this type of shit. This is literally what he said. This isn't the right time for this kind of shit. She says, I don't want to have this baby. And then Ing steps aside and he picks up the stun gun. Now the investigators did find a stun gun. They found a stun gun in the Honda that they seized. He says, well, we told you what's going to happen to the baby. Just don't ask us or else it'll be history. I don't want to hear anything about it. It will be taken care of. So Brenda, her emotions, like, she's like, just give me my baby. I'll do anything.
I want the live one.
I want the one that's here. Lake breaks his silence. He interrupts. He's like, you're going to do anything we want anyway. And we don't want to have a dirty house around with the baby. So then Brenda says, he can't live without me. Lake says, he's going to learn.
Oh.
Come on, stand up, jeans off, panties off, everything else.
She still got clothes on?
She had on like layers because he cut clothes off too. But obviously, I mean, she's trying to buy time.
No, I know.
Yeah, she's still pretty close.
They're being pretty patient, actually.
Yeah, they are. And I think part of it is the torture too, because everything she tries to say, they have like some quippy negative reaction to it that I feel like is heightening this for them.
Oh yeah, they're definitely enjoying this game.
Yeah. So, she takes her clothes off. And Ing's like, both of us are going to make sure you're clean before we fuck you. That's the house rule. Ing is a lot. Now, Lake agrees. Traditional. And so let's make sure those towels and all that shit is in there. Like they're just being real normal. It's like, give me your hand. And she's like, I don't. And then her voice fades. He's like, take good care of her, Charlie. Charlie, see if you can, just don't get her hair wet. Just wash her body. Not that you have to worry about it. And then Charlie says, you have to worry about it. And Brenda's voice, she's kind of says something, but she can't really be completely heard. But then Lake says, I don't know. Maybe he does. For all I know, I don't care. It's like he's kind of off camera, kind of speaking, kind of not. It's low, so they couldn't really tell what he said. And then Ing complains. He's like, "What's wrong with this fucking shower head? It's pissing me off." You could tell his sexual. He getting more and more excited.
In the shower, and he's like, "Fuck, it's taking too long. I can't get in."
Exactly. So by the end of it, Lake tells him, he says, "Take good care of her now, Charlie. Make sure she brushes her teeth and uses her mouthwash." And then Ing says, "What the fuck's wrong with the shower?" And then the video ends. Lake and Ing killed 2 babies, 4 women, and 10 men. Police found 2 buried 5-gallon buckets. 1 held ID papers and personal items, suggesting the victims' count, which they believe was actually 25. Police also dug up 40 pounds of burned and crushed human bones. They corresponded with 11 bodies. At least 4 dental specimens belonged to a child under the age of 3, which is like, what?
Wow.
They also found a trench that had like trash in it, personal items, 2 intact skeletons with another body buried under the chicken coop.
They were having a good old time.
Like they were doing the most. 2 bodies found about a mile from the cabin were later identified as Bond and Stapley. Now, these bodies were in sleeping bags, one on top of the other. Bond had been shot once in his head. His wrists were handcuffed together. He had a plastic bag over his head. He had a leather strap with a ball gag around his neck. Stapley had been shot 3 times in the mouth, right eyebrow, and collarbone. He had a plastic bag over his head and shoulders, and his hands and ankles were bound with duct tape. He also had a ball gag in his mouth.
How did they do this to these people? These men? Like, how did you...
Well, you know what I always...
Or did you shoot them first?
I think drugs... I hate to say it, but not that... I don't want to blame it on drugs, but even when you think about what she said in the tape, when she's like, this is why you invited us over for dinner?
Oh,
but I also,
that makes sense. Maybe they drugged them.
Maybe they drugged them, but also I do believe that one of the issues was that they had too many fucking guns. If you remember in part 1,
they had like
he had an artillery of guns, and who knows if you take somebody's baby.
Yeah,
you can get anybody to submit.
I mean, I guess at the end, if you pull a gun on somebody, a lot of times, like
that's all you need.
That's all you need.
Now, mind you, they had guns, but he only had 22. He didn't have fucking army issue guns and grenades and shit.
Right.
And so now Lake's ex-wife Cricket, she cooperated with the investigators, like I mentioned early, but she was also granted legal immunity.
Oh, okay.
She provided with the weapons, any other materials that were dismissed. Any other materials were also dismissed with Ng's lawyer later. It was also revealed that it's possible that Cricket had removed boxes of paper from the house possibly videotapes from the cabin. And that fucked up the investigation.
Sounds like she might have known a little bit.
She was suppressing evidence like a bitch. Because I believe that somehow Cricket was implicated in his earlier plans when he was hunting for all those women. She's given Ghislaine Maxwell to me.
Okay, yeah. Like she was involved to a degree at the beginning at some point, or she helped lure some women in at some point. They ended up dead, and she was like, I'm out. Maybe after that.
I mean, but just like I've just mentioned Colleen Stan, that was the thing with that guy. He had a wife and a baby that he liked to use, to pick up bitches and things like that. So I think that she was possibly disarming a lot of the women. Oh, well, there's a woman here.
Which is completely...
So even if I'm fucking her husband, there's also a woman here. The likelihood of her being a complete sadistic piece of shit. I just also wonder how many of those plans, because, she threw away boxes of paper. How many more journals? Because he was obviously really good about typing shit up and, writing shit, keeping record. I wonder how much of that she was actually in. And she didn't want to be associated with what he was doing at the cabin. Because again, it's not his cabin. It's her family cabin.
Or maybe it was things that like videos of her being tortured and, or like you said, notebooks about things that happened to her. And she's like, I'm good. I don't want my business out here like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think whatever it was she was removing, she just didn't want to be implicated in. Obviously, she wasn't protecting him.
Yeah, clearly, because she's still told.
But also, he's dead. What is there to protect? He's dead.
Yeah.
I think because she wasn't interested in dying, she just made sure whatever she was associated with was gone.
Makes sense.
So, kind of makes sense. Now, Ng was caught in Calgary, Alberta, Canada on July 6, 1985 after a shoplifting incident led to a confrontation where Ng shot a security guard. Now, the security guard was injured, but he was able to detain Ng until the police arrived. Quote, officers seized a pair of handcuffs and a key a .22 caliber handgun that previously belonged to Lake, and ammunition. The following day, a detective met with a young boy and his father at a wildlife park. He asked the boy to show him where the man had been camping. The detective found approximately 30 meters away a cleared area with a sleeping bag. The sleeping bag was on top of these like wooden planks, and under the planks was a dugout big enough to fit a whole fucking person. In that dugout was a camera that belonged to Stapley and a towel that belonged to Cliff Parento. Now, again, Cliff Parento was mentioned earlier, but I will tell you who he is. Now, Ng served 4.5 years in a Canadian prison while fighting extradition to the U.S. on the grounds that he would face capital punishment. In 1991, he was extradited to California, where he faced 12 counts of first-degree fucking murder. Meanwhile, Lake's dead as fuck.
Like, because he was smart. He was like, I'm going to swallow this pill. I'm done.
Ng claimed, here we go. Ng claimed he was merely an observer and that Lake was solely responsible for the crimes. A psychiatrist testified that Ng had, quote, dependent personality disorder, meaning he was only attempting to do whatever Lake asked him to do, and he was just mirroring his actions. Now, Ng testified that the first time he saw O'Connor, Brenda, the woman who was on the tape, was when they started filming her for the, quote, M Ladies video. He knew Lake had a strong dislike for Brenda for several reasons. And while he helped Lake threaten Brenda, he insisted he had no intention of physically hurting her or killing her. Bitch, it's on tape. He said he was just helping Lake by showing solidarity to make O'Connor believe that, O'Connor meaning Brenda, there were two people involved.
But
hoping that she'd just comply.
But it's on TV. I mean, it's on tape. Well, it's on TV.
You being a fucking asshole.
Like what?
Now, Ng claimed
his lawyer thought that was a good defense. Public defender.
First of all, probably. But two, he's testifying. Of course, he gonna blame it on a dead man. Dead man is always the easiest person to blame. Now, Ng claimed he wasn't there when Bond and Stapley was murdered. After filming the video with Brenda, Lake showed him two bodies under the porch, Bond and Stapley. Now, Ng admitted he helped bind Bond's body, gagged him, and put him in a sleeping bag, while Lake did the same to Stapley, and Lake wanted it to look like they were killed by rival drug dealers. Now, here's the thing. This is what I will say. While I just said what I just said about Ng, part of me kind of feels that Leonard was definitely manipulative enough.
Oh, absolutely.
To convince him to do this shit. Simply because Ng was the type of motherfucker that he belonged to no one and nothing. He didn't have the fondest relationship with his own father. Even his Semper Fi, Marine buddies, they think he's a fucking weirdo.
Right.
Yeah. I think he felt, and even in the book, they talk about how Ng thought that Cricket and Leonard were his family. He considered them family. That's why when he went to jail the first time,
he kept in contact with them, and
they were writing letters. I think,
because even if he wasn't manipulated, it could also be one of those situations where he doesn't have anybody else. So it's like,
so he's just like, okay, I'll do it.
I'm here.
Yeah. Now, according to the court documents, when Lake was arrested at the lumber store, he had a gun registered to Stapley, as well as credit cards and a bank card in Stapley's name. Ng expressed regret for his actions in the M Ladies video, saying he was, quote, young and adventurous and didn't use his own judgment. Nigga, young and adventurous is snorting cocaine, doing ecstasy, and having a threesome.
I was like, I'm young and adventurous. I never had the urge to
tie women up, murder them, rape them, and murder them. Now, Ng
then hide the body.
Then hide the bodies. Ng denied any involvement in Gerald's disappearance. Now, he claimed he wasn't in Wildesleyville the day Gerald went missing because he had an 8-hour shift at the Dennis Moving Company. Now, February 24th, 1985, Jeffrey Gerald, who's 25, he was a mover at the Dennis Moving Company, which is where Ng worked. He was also a drummer for Crash and Burn. He vanished when he went to go help Ng move. So that's who he claims. I wasn't even in Wildesleyville the day Gerald went missing. What do you mean? Now, Ng denied any involvement in the Dubs family disappearance and said he wasn't the person the neighbor saw leaving their apartment that day with that black oblong bag. July 25th, 1984. Harvey Dubs was 30, his wife 33, Deborah, and their 1-year-old son Sean in San Francisco. Harvey had advertised video equipment for sale. That was the family. Dubs would professionally film christenings and weddings and all types of shit, and he would rent out his video equipment. Now Ng is saying that I ain't had nothing to do with the Dubs disappearance. I wasn't the neighbor. You're the only Asian dude, most likely.
Like,
this town has about 3 people in it.
Like, I think it was 150 you said last week.
It's 150.
Like,
now, Ng denied making any comments to Maurice LeBerg. I didn't mention him last episode. I meant his name, that is. He was actually in a neighboring cell when he went to jail. He told Maurice about the Dubs murders. He said, quote, during one of the LeBerg's conversations with Ng, he said that Ng seemed very worried that the police would watch a videotape found on the property. And he told LeBerg that the videotape featured Kathy Allen and Brenda O'Connor, 2 women who he and Lake had kept in a cell for some time. Okay. The defendant, a.k.a. Ng, described scenes from the video to LeBerg, and he also showed cartoons, quote unquote, depicting scenes from the video, some in graphic fucking detail. So now Ng's denying that.
But you're denying this.
Mm-hmm. He acknowledged that a VCR without a serial number was found in his apartment, but insisted that it belonged to Lake. He had no idea where Lake got it.
I mean, it's a good defense. The man is dead. You left me here with this. I'm just going to blame everything on you.
Ng testified that he had nothing to do with Paul Costner's disappearance and didn't make any deal with Lake to kill him. November 2nd, 1984, Paul Costner, 39, last seen in San Francisco. November 2nd. He was a used car dealer and he advertised the car, said he had a weird potential buyer.
Yep.
And Costner never returned home. He's denying that. He also denied any role in Cliff Parenteau's disappearance, saying he never visited Parenteau's apartment. I didn't even know where he lived. He claimed no involvement in moving Parenteau's property to Wildesleyville because they found his shit in Wildesleyville and had no idea how it got there. He also denied telling LeBerg that he shot Parenteau in the head and burned his body.
Oh, you should have took the night.
You told people. Now, just a reminder who Cliff Parenteau was. January 20, 1985. Clifford Parenteau, 23. He worked with Ng also at the Dennis Moving Company, and he was last seen in San Francisco. Now, as for the Miranda ladies video, Ng said it was Lake's idea. I believe that.
I mean, I do. I mean, I believe it, but I'm like, it's just convenient that like you
very
have no accountability.
Nothing. He admitted that Kathy Allen, the woman I read last episode, her tape, was the first woman he helped Lake in prison, and he knew that she wasn't there willingly. He believed Lake was trying to turn Kathy into a willing sex slave, but they never agreed to kill her. Ng acknowledged his participation in the video, but said he couldn't stand up to Lake or refuse to be involved. He stated that he didn't have sexual intercourse or oral sex with Kathy, and when he left Wildesleyville for San Francisco, she was still alive. Now, my thing is this, and I hate to give this piece of dog shit any fucking credit, right, but he's so timid. And he's so shy in some ways. Now, he performs much differently on the tapes, as we know. Now, he is also probably a psychopath. Psychopaths have the ability to kind of switch it on. And yeah. And they, I mean, just like Leonard said in his manifesto that at the end of the day, he knows how to be who he needs to be when he needs to be it.
Yeah.
And so part of me just...
sociopaths know how to mimic behaviors that they're supposed to be
displaying at any particular moment. Yeah. And two, I think that the only reason why I'm saying that is because Ing's Asian. I'm going to just say it. I'm going to just say it because he's fucking Asian. I think he's less likely to do this because he's Asian.
Well, I mean, statistically, you're not being racist. Statistically, I mean, I don't actually know of any, besides him, I don't think I've ever heard of another Asian serial killer.
I have, but there's usually some real ass mental illness shit going on. You know what I mean? Like real, like sadistic like this. No, but like some shit where a motherfucker is just snapped and just sliced the bitch different. Up. Yeah, that's different. That's like a snap moment. Yeah, that's impulsive. But Ing, especially, I think too, he served. But I think there's a little bit of just like the daddy relationship that's a problem. Some mental illness right there. The need to belong.
Yeah.
He found belonging. He found somebody that he felt was of his cloth, cut from his cloth.
I mean, and maybe he wasn't crazy. Maybe he wasn't a killer at first. But like that need to belong sometimes can be
strong.
That
thing.
That thin line where it's like, oh, I really want to belong. You know, it's like a people pleaser to...
I mean, but that's a cult.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
100%. It is exactly
that's cult behavior. Yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying too. You can tell by how Leonard definitely fucking charmed the pants off those women.
Yeah.
And again, he says it in the manifesto. I have the ability to do this shit. And I don't think that it's anything that he could not get away with a man, specifically one who is Asian and more submissive in that way.
I mean, I think if you know how to manipulate, you know how to manipulate.
Yeah. And Ing was used to being abused by his own dad. Yeah. Even if the dad didn't mean it, you know.
Yeah, that's how you show love. I mean, because if you, and especially if you love your dad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he didn't hate his dad. His dad was just.
He was just
a stereotypical helicopter parent, kind of almost sort of like.
Yeah.
And so that probably wasn't awkward to him because I bet you a lot of his friends and, you know, family probably had very hard, stereotypical Asian parents like that. So you're right. So then you teeter that with some trauma from the war, with a need to belong.
Being in jail too.
Being in jail.
Because he did spend that stint in jail.
You know, so I could see.
Yeah.
You know,
and it also, he got kicked out of the one environment that, he kept getting kicked out of a lot of shit, but he didn't even belong in the Marines for real. Because as soon as he did something fucked up, they were like, you gotta get the fuck up out of here. So I think that's the thing.
Wasn't Ying the one that was like was that this episode? Now I feel like I'm actually completely sober. Wasn't he pre-schizophrenic or wasn't one of them like like when he got kicked out? Wasn't it something in the first episode where I was like, why do they keep letting this man have guns? I don't understand.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think he got kicked out of the military and like he was like he's pre-schizophrenic.
I know
what
you mean.
What is pre-schizophrenic?
It was impending
schizophrenia. And I was
that's Leonard.
Okay, that was Leonard. Okay.
Yeah, that was Leonard. But it could have been the same thing with him too, where because sometimes with some people that the mental illness is brewing.
Oh yeah, no. 100%.
It ain't popped off just yet, but it's getting there. And I think he may have been in that situation. And he also found a moment that he felt comfortable in. And he was like, we doing this shit together.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
It's fine.
I
guess it's no different than, you know.
I can see also Leonard telling him, just so you know, I'm going to kill myself.
Oh, 100%.
So I suggest you say this. Yeah. I could see him doing that too.
I can see that.
Now, Ing said he didn't know about Carol's death, though he did remember that Lake told Alan on the video to cooperate or they would bury her in the same place as Carol.
Oh, well,
so there aren't a lot of people
that's a little
that are buried alive. He claimed he wasn't paying attention when Lake said that and didn't actually help kill or bury Carol. Now, who was Carol? April 12th through the 15th, 1985, Michael Carroll, 22, and his girlfriend Kathleen Allen. So we know Kathleen Allen from the first tape. Michael Carroll was her boyfriend. Now, Kathleen Allen was 18 when she went missing. they left their hotel in California. Now, Kathleen, she received a call saying that Michael, who had been serving time in Leavenworth with Ng, was in trouble, that he was possibly shot. She thought he was injured. That's why she left. Lake Tahoe. She was supposed to go by Lake Tahoe. They came to go pick her up. She got picked up by a quote unquote bearded man in a car, which Leonard. And that's basically how she ended up disappearing. Well, now Ng is saying, I ain't know nothing about Carol. I don't know about no Carol. He was like, I don't know nothing about that. He's even denied any statements that he told LeBerg, his fucking cell neighbor, again. I mean, he clearly...
Stop running your mouth.
Like, stop.
If I committed a crime, first of all, motherfuckers,
there are motherfuckers in jail that cannot wait to find a high-profile case and take as much information, because LeBerg was taking notes.
Yeah, because he was like, "Ooh, wait, hold up, wait a minute. Let me figure out how this is going to benefit Mike."
This a motherfucking jackpot.
Information.
Duct Tape Killer happened like this, where he had a cellmate that was just like writing all that shit down. And what was crazy about Duct Tape Killer's cellmate, and it's actually kind of funny, he had started writing down shit and was like, damn, yeah, you did that? That's crazy. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Yeah. Right. But what the cellmate had already did is he had forged his own documents to convince everybody in jail that he was there for harsher crimes than he was there for, so people wouldn't fuck with him.
Oh, that makes sense. That's
so he was a great criminal. He was a grifter like a motherfucker, because he had, at the end of the day, had convinced all these people in jail that this dude was a fucking menace. And so, because, what's his name? Duct Tape Killer was thinking that he's a menace like me. Yeah. There's no reason why he would be in the cell with me. That nigga was in there for like theft. He wasn't even in there for no serious crime.
And which is, it's one of those things too. Like when you have people like Ying and like, the Duct Tape Killer, and everybody in jail ain't about that shit. Like a lot of them are like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Like, we ain't here. Yeah, we ain't here because we murdered some gang members.
And maybe you're a repeat offender, and they like, you know what? We actually gonna send you to penitentiary this time because you ain't getting it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you end up
and you're a hardened criminal, and these people come in talking about raping,
and
molesting, murdering,
people?
And I don't think it's the murder necessarily is all the time. Well, sometimes when you're murdering women and children,
for sure,
but like I think when you start getting into that like sexual state, like, they don't like that. If you're not a rapist, you don't like that shit.
And then, so of course, the Duct Tape Killer goes up to him and he's like, "So hey, how are you getting such?" Because they they all know each other's time, and he's like, "You committed all this shit, which dude lied about. You committed all these motherfucking murders. How are you getting all this time?" And the dude was like, "I'll tell you. What the fuck did you do, though? By the way,
scroll
down." And he started writing all that shit down, and he fucking told on him.
I know what to do now if I ever go to jail. I'm look, I actually murdered 20 people. Leave me the fuck alone.
Including everyone in my family.
So stop it. Like I'm crazy.
Like, stop. I'm so crazy.
I'm so crazy. And then I'll need somebody to tell me some things, and then I'll get early release for turning in somebody.
And that is if somebody don't try to test you first. But you think you're a big bad wolf?
They test me, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna be like, fuck.
Every single fucking time I'm gonna lose. I'm not built.
I'm gonna go find Ben Rames. It's okay.
Now the defense did bring in experts to discuss Ng's like character and his mental state. They brought in a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and another psychiatrist that specialized in Asian family dynamics. Now, the psychologist had tested Ng in the 90s and reviewed reports that were from other court-appointed experts, and he explained that Ng scored high on traits of schizoid, avoidant, and dependent personality disorders. Now, schizoid individuals, they struggle with connecting to others, building long-term relationships, which he did have a history of being a loner. Those with avoidant personalities tend to steer clear of groups and close relationships out of fear of rejection. So they have the tendencies of kind of like latching on to one person and doing anything to maintain that relationship. So they kind of think that Ng saw Lake as a caregiver and like a guide. So then when another psychiatrist testified, they said that Ng has spent 10 out of the last 12 to 13 years in solitary confinement. And so after meeting with Ng, that doctor noticed that he had developed like this obsession over like his constant hunger, because he ended up gaining a shit ton of weight, and certain smells. He started to obsess over certain things like that. But they believe that was due to him being in solitary,
that makes sense.
Which the doctors were like, unfortunately, there's a serious affect to a person's thinking being locked up.
That is cruel. I think
solitary confinement is
cruel
a lot.
And unusual punishment. I think it's horrible.
It is. I'm just doing all my little bottleneck flashback episodes this episode because I'm like, it reminded me of Carl Panzram that I did with Kira, where they put that motherfucker in solitary confinement after that motherfucker had tried to escape, fell off a wall, and ruptured his fucking groin. This nigga's inside was outside. He was still trying. They, instead of sending him to the medical center, they were like, put yourself together in solitary confinement. He was in there putting his insides back inside.
I remember that. That was a good episode.
That was a good ass episode. That was like Kira's first episode.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
damn, that was a long time ago.
It was. That was. Oh yeah, it was last season for sure. Now he described Ing as docile.
You say what? I said that like we were 7 seasons in. Like, I know, right?
It was last season. I mean, it was at least 60 episodes.
I mean, I'm saying I said it like it was like 7 seasons. Like, oh, that was a long time ago. Realize it was just last year. It was just last year.
Ooh, but that still would have been 2022, right? No, that's 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So he described Ing as docile, passive, and compliant. And he did agree with the original doctor's diagnosis of dependent personality disorder. Now, the Paul Lung, who was, I say Lung, I think it's Lang, but he was the psychiatrist that specialized in Asian family dynamics. And he explained that a traditional Hong Kong family like Ing's, the father was the authority figure, and children were expected to obey, point blank, period. The father was often seen as someone to fear and to the main disciplinarian. So while it wasn't uncommon for fathers to discipline their children physically, Dr. Lang noted that Ing's father was, quote, a bit more harsh than most. Parents generally have high expectations for their sons, especially if they only had one. And Dr. Lang pointed out, that Ing's father had particularly high expectations for him and disciplined him accordingly. Because he wanted, he said in the beginning, he wanted him to get an education. Now,
stop fucking up.
Seriously.
Then he became a really big fuck up.
A huge fuck up, like a supersized fuck up. Now, in February 1999, Ing was convicted of 11 of the 12 murders, 6 men, 3 women, 2 male infants. The jury was deadlocked on the 12th charge, which was Paul Costner, but Ing was sentenced to death.
I was like, at that point, does it make a difference?
The judge remarked Mr. Ing was not under any duress, nor does the evidence support that he was under the domination of Leonard Lake. As of July 2024, Ing is imprisoned in California Medical Facility. California's last execution was in 2006, and so in 2019, Gavin Newsom did a moratorium of the death penalty in the state, and Charles Ing is still alive. He is 63 years old.
That's crazy.
And that's the story of Mr.
That sucks.
And
like,
Mrs.
He gets to, like,
Leonard Lake.
He gets like a whole, like, it kind of sucks. Like, he took all those lives and participated. And like, I mean, he doesn't have a great quality of life.
No.
I mean, I don't know if I believe in the death penalty all the way. But I feel like when cases like this, like where it's obvious, like he did it, like, I think when there's even the smidgenest amount of reasonable doubt, like, I don't think you should ever, like, have a death penalty because there's been too many cases where, like, oops, they didn't do it. Him though? He kind of deserves to die.
He does. But you know what's crazy too? It's hard to tell because obviously I don't have transcripts of every murder of the tapes. But when I read what I did read, what Ing do for real? Like, I mean, he did shit. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he did. But I'm saying, like, if you take the actual evidence of the tapes.
Oh, well, yeah.
He's not really in the tapes killing anybody.
No.
But I think him just being implicated in Leonard Lake in general, you cannot hide behind, by the way, he did all that shit. Yeah, but he's been saying this entire time that if he gets caught, he even says in the book, Leonard Lake says in the book, I am a fucking wimp.
Yeah.
Ing says in the book, I am a fucking wimp. He even says to women, I keep arsenic in the hollow a hollow in one of my teeth, I can never go to prison. I am prepared to kill myself. This man, Leonard Lake, told anybody that would fucking listen that he is willing to die. He never said that he wasn't still willing to do shit. He just said, if I'm ever get caught, I'm going to kill myself. That should have been Ing's plan.
Yeah,
Ing should have been like samesies.
Sames. Like, I mean, I'm already doing the same. But see, that really kind of shows that, like, I mean, I think that killing yourself takes a lot of people are like, oh, it's the weakest way out. But I'm like, actually, I think it takes a little bit of courage, like, because like to be able to actually kill yourself, it can't really be that easy. So like, I mean, it was just happens to be a little bit more of a wimp.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if Leonard had came up to me and they were like, look here, Ing, if we get caught, you going down by yourself.
And I'm like, no, I'm not.
So your options are to go with me or to go to jail again. Which do you prefer? And to me, if I was Ing, I'd be like, is a pig's pussy still pork?
Because I'm going to die. I mean, he's not in a real jail, though. He's in a mental health hospital.
He's not. But he's got the death penalty. The only reason why he's still alive is because there's a moratorium. And he only did the moratorium in 2019. There was 13 years. Their last execution was in 2006.
I wonder how many, clearly, but I wonder how many appeals he did that prolonged the actual,
sure.
And then he made it 13 years until that was the moratorium, which I don't foresee California ever going away from that. Like, they're usually the most progressive.
I mean, he also had a criminal background already. He was also known for being violent. First of all, it only took them 17 minutes to decide what they were going to do to this motherfucker. There wasn't a lot of deliberating.
That's good. It was like, he did those 11. Yeah, we'll let him go with that.
And we got you on tape. I'm going to tell you, visuals is never a good fucking idea.
Oh, no, not at all. I don't understand. I mean, I don't think that, like, I'm just one of those people, if I ever commit a crime, I don't need a partner.
No.
And I ain't going to tell nobody about it afterwards because
that's
how you get caught.
And two, like, I'm not... Okay.
Not that I'm a criminal mastermind or anything, but
of course. But honestly, like, the fact that here you are in this situation with this man, he's keeping contemporaneous
he's doing
notes,
too much.
Records, video, all types of shit. He's taking pictures of women. The fact that you even showed up on any of the videos because it's one thing if everybody walked away and it was sexual assault, fine. But the people that are on that video with you, Mr. Ing, are dead. Anymore. We're finding them under the property.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same.
So I hate to break it to you, my nigga.
But you guilty.
Because it reminds me of what happened in the Biggie and Tupac thing. You probably like, what the fuck is wrong with her today? Biggie and Tupac episode I did. Murder rap. In California, I think this works this way because it happened in the murder rap situation. Orlando Anderson, when he was finally killed, there were 3 people in the encounter. There was only one person that survived that shooting, and they hit him with the charges.
Oh, that makes sense.
They didn't give a fuck if he shot the gun or not. You are there. You're an accomplice.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things where, like, even if, like, there was I forgot what that case was where they committed a crime, and then I feel like the cops actually shot and killed one of the criminals. Okay. And the other criminal got charged for his murder.
Yep. That's how it worked.
Because, like, if you weren't, because he died in the commission of a crime.
Guilt by association.
Well, it died. This would have never happened if y'all weren't committing this crime.
That's what. Anyway. No, and now happened in murder rap. Because even though it's like, oh, a bunch of men got shot, but when one died, you got the murder charge.
You get the murder charge.
Whether you pulled the trigger or fucking
so
not.
Like, even if you I think that's almost anywhere. Because I think even if you robbed the bank and there was a shootout between you and the police and the cops shot an innocent bystander. Sure. That's you. That's on you. That's on you. Your fault.
So my thing is like, we ain't really got you on video doing shit other than like being
dead.
Everybody's dead.
And you were being really gross.
And guess what? We also have testimony from countless witnesses that not only places you at the scene of the crimes, have you explicitly talking about being involved with the crimes. Okay, maybe your cellmate is not necessarily that reliable, but at the end of the day, we have instances of neighbors and people that know you saying
you're on a tape. I mean, I think
that should be
but where you're talking about other murders and other women.
And I hate to say it again, you're Asian. You're Asian in a world of white people, in a sea of white people. Yeah. Even though black victims, there were a couple earlier, episode 1. Yeah. There were the people that from the hotel. There was some black people. There was a black man there. If I'm not mistaken, he is the one that they found under the chicken coop.
Okay.
Which I feel like is a little racist. That was
a little racist there. You're like, oh, we'll put you with the food you like to eat on a regular basis.
Like, what the fuck?
I had salmon today, actually.
And I had a samosa bowl.
See, look.
I had Indian food. So don't be racist. Don't be. But no, like, literally.
You're dead. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I would, again, just like homegirl should have been like, fucking kill me. I was like, I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
Why am I wasting the taxpayers' money on this?
I fucked up.
I just don't want to go through this. Like, yeah. I mean, but I'm sure he enjoyed part of it too, though. That's why they taped it. That's why I like looking at it. It is.
So, it was a trophy. It was all a part
so now,
of literally
the trial is they're
legacy.
Reliving all of that stuff. They get to see it. He probably got off on it a little bit. He's probably like touching on himself underneath the table.
I didn't need that visual at all. But I also just feel like you talking about a person who was possibly sexually repressed, a loner, given incel.
Yeah.
Like I said last
100%.
It's like, I don't give a fuck if you got a mental illness. If you hate women and feel like your only option in dating them is to kidnap them and rape them, you're a fucking incel.
That's kind of what an incel is.
That's the literal definition. And these are like the Adam and Eve of incel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to do this topic. I had never heard of these guys before.
This was great.
Thank you. I feel like I learned something.
I feel like as much true crime as I listen to, it's rare these days
that I run across shit you ain't never heard of.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a bunch out there that I never heard of, but like,
yeah,
it has to get a lot more unique these days. Anything
you
that's
do
like publicly known, it's kind of like, oh, I've heard that one before.
Yeah, for sure. And it also depends on how deep you want to get into it. I kind of got in a little more deep than I wanted to with this one. But because there were also 2 people, I was like, fuck it. Let's split it.
That was great.
So
it was great.
I'm grateful.
It was perfect.
So, okay. Hope you all did whatever you do while you're listening to this. Hope it worked out.
I hope it was great.
Hope it was great. Question mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark.
Probably should have told people not to eat.
It's still not as bad as Pig Farmer. Actually, when I went back and listened to Pig Farmer, I realized that it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was worse when I did Baby Girl, the incest sugar baby. What's her name? The ones that left her on the track. And one of the guys who follows me on TikTok actually mentioned that episode. He's like, can't be. No, Vera Jo Regal. He said, can't be worse than Vera Jo Regal. Can't be worse than that. Shout out to TSLTE.
I just love that, like, you got people on like social media and like reaching out, talking
Shout
about
the podcast. Shout out to Jean Grey, Honey Badger.
I remember way back when you had like 3 people listening.
I know. I get like alerts all the time. It's kind of weird.
It's great.
It's kind of weird. But I thank them, and I thank Tara Lisa per use. Tara Lisa, stay in the comments about the podcast. Angel Lise, who is a TikTok follower, listens to the podcast too. So I'm grateful for all of y'all that listen to the fucking pod. Fresh Fleet, per use. You, of fucking course.
I'm here.
My sister don't listen to it, but tomorrow. I'm always grateful of her being on it. Exactly. I'll send it to you since you're on. And it's also nice to, like I said before, have a and Lauren, of course, yes. Lauren Diamond. But it's great to have like a community, even if it's a small community. I had posted a video a little while ago where I was like, I'm okay with someone deciding that I'm going to gatekeep this podcast a little bit because I don't feel like it's for everybody. I'm vulgar in some ways because remember, I was one of the most inappropriate podcasts.
Right. That was great. That was
fun. But also the fact that like this podcast and my humor, my friends and shit like that, like tell it to people you know is going to rock with it.
I know. So it was funny. So I did actually, I mean, as you know, I'm always like promoting the podcast.
Always.
Because ultimately, like, she needs some brand deals and then she needs to be like on a yacht where,
Period. We're doing like an Aperol Spritz Capri cruise.
Yeah, that's all,
I will never get on
it. But I did tell somebody that, and I was kind of like, after I told them,
you were like,
I was kind of like, crap. You know what? Like,
yeah.
Especially kind of sometimes when I tell people that are related to places that I work.
Yeah, sure.
It's one of those situations like, crap, like,
I've done
if
that.
somebody hears this, like, are you going to then kind of feel some kind of way and then like bring it back to the workplace? So I usually try to tell people like,
only
you're
if they're
definitely
cool.
going to hear me say something. I mean, I work in HR, so like, you know, I'm not saying everything I say here is clearly like HR friendly. But like, so
life
if
isn't HR
no, it's
friendly.
not at all. But then when you tell other HR professionals.
Here's the thing. I work corporate as well. My boss was like, my boss, first of all, doesn't like true crime, but then was like, should I listen to it? And I said, absolutely not. It is not for you.
Yeah.
And I told that to my mom. You know, I've told that to people before. I like to be able to freely express myself. Yeah. If I warned you and you decided to listen to it anyway, that's on you. Only times that I've ever concerned myself with work and this podcast, because I also work in the television and film industry where I feel like even an accountant can be given grace in creative
I think
license.
So. I mean, I think you work in an industry where they
talk about all types of shit. But also, I just make sure that I don't refer to my job that often. That's like with TikTok. People getting in trouble because they're posting videos at work. Like, stop doing that shit.
I'll tell you what I do for a living, but I'm never going to tell you the company.
And even if I told you the company, media. I'm not going to be like constantly talking about my workplace because this has nothing to do with that. I don't even bring up coworkers a lot unless a coworker brings a topic to me and I'm shouting them out. But other than that, like at this point, I really don't concern myself with who listens to this, because I'm going to also tell you too, other than certain vulgarities, like words that we use, we curse or whatever, we may even joke about drug use and shit like that. I've listened to all episods enough to feel totally secure. I would have took all of that shit down.
100%.
You know, I'll take some shit down.
I mean, wait a minute. Because I was listening, I was like, oh, wait, Brittany. Like, that wasn't, I don't know if that's.
Not this one.
We're going to get canceled before we're even on. Let's not. But no, like, no. But you just never know in this world what. So, what somebody might be like, oh my God.
Offended by.
Yeah, and I'm like, so, but it's very rare that I like.
But I also like the kind of environment we set even through TikTok. So when people come through our TikTok, they already know there's going to be a little buffoonery. Yeah. They also know we may be drinking, we're going to be kicking it, we're going to be doing whatever. And they also even know now with me that you can't never really trust what the fuck is going to come out your mouth.
I know, I kind of miss your lives.
You know what? I got a few messages.
I actually kind of miss your lives, and I miss the people that were in the lives.
I know.
Like, I got a notification the other day that was like, speak to Juju. You haven't talked to him in a while.
I
was
know.
Like,
Juju commented not too long ago. I mean, there are a few. There's like the Omars. There's two Omars. There's Juju. There was you. There was Odd. I'm friends with Odd on Instagram.
So like I'd be liking his stuff.
Odd. Yeah, for sure. And like now, and there's a few that have sprinkled in like, since I've done a one or two by myself, but I'm going to get back to it. Somebody had actually messaged me and they were like, what's up with the lives? But sometimes I just, one, don't feel like it. Yeah. Two, I got to set up. And then like, did I walk Luna in time? Because I don't want to interrupt the live. And, it just ends up being a whole thing.
It needs to be a moment. It needs to be.
Just like with everything else, I do it when it's organic.
Yeah, when it feels good.
If it hits me and I'm like, that's a good time to get on live. Yep. If I'm making breakfast on a Sunday or some shit,
let's do it. Naya just asked me, she's like, I see you haven't been on, we were talking, she's like, I see you ain't been on, I was like, nah.
Yeah, you really haven't.
I just, and then I've had a couple people like, where have you been at? And because I've been randomly kind of hopping on and I'll comment when I see something and like, where you been?
But you haven't even been posted.
I haven't done anything. So I haven't posted. I haven't commented. Like it's just been. I just ain't been feeling it. And it's nothing like I haven't even been scrolling as much.
Yeah. That's positive because I definitely
not on TikTok at least. Like I scroll.
I mean, Instagram, you definitely scroll because I get all of your fucking Instagram.
But I send you Instagram reels. Yeah, I don't really send you a lot of TikTok.
No, you don't.
It's rare.
I spend more time on TikTok because I like the holes that I find myself in there.
I don't know why.
I fell into a fucking crazy ass hole the other day. I can't even remember. And then I like the thalassophobia videos. You know what that is? The fear of the ocean.
Yeah.
All of those videos of like the fear of the ocean, megalophobia shit with like large statues. I almost sent you a video
of a turtle today.
Don't do that.
I know. I was like, turtles. So it was a little itty bitty turtle, and they taught it how to ride a little itty bitty skateboard, and it was riding around the house with the cat. Cute. It was so cute because the cat and the turtle were playing together, and it made me.
Those are dinosaurs.
Wait, so it made me start researching. Like I was like, do I want a turtle? I was like, maybe I want a turtle as a pet, right? So like, are they easy pets? And then like they can live like 80 years, and I was like, oh, I don't fucking want a turtle. Like, what am I gonna do with it when I die?
No, he's gonna be alive. You will be dead.
Yeah.
No, they live long as fuck, and they're creepy. Have you ever seen their tongues? Yeah. And why do they move that slow?
Well,
they are dinosaurs.
The one on like the skateboard was moving fast.
Nah, fuck that. Because he was on a skateboard.
It was so cute. It learned how to like stop and play with the cat and everything. I was like, I didn't realize, which is what made me look into it, because I was like, turtles got personalities?
If it's not a turtle cartoon, I'm not interested. I think turtle cartoon characters are cute. Like when they spin and go into it. Yeah. Or like, I can deal with that. Even though they're giant turtles, and I don't think that there's anything more terrifying than that. But I will say,
you did like completely get out of the water that when we were in the Dominican.
Oh, period.
Like, there's a fucking turtle, and I was like, where? And you're like, I'm backing away.
Me and Kira were just talking about that on one of our episodes, because we talked about that movie where I watched that turtle being butchered.
Oh,
and I felt like ass, because I was like, damn,
would you eat turtle?
No.
But you know, they all taste different. Like,
you know, the Drake was known for its bookbinder soup, which, if I'm not mistaken, is turtle soup. And then they ended up changing it to red snapper, because that's more of a delicacy. The more turtles become kind of like, I don't know, are they considered endangered?
I don't think so. Maybe certain species of
I think certain species are, yeah.
And maybe only certain ones are edible.
Maybe.
I just know that I've heard that they all taste different. Like, they're different pieces of their meat taste different.
I can see that.
And I was like, interesting.
I've only had like alligator once.
Oh, I like alligator.
You know, I do like alligator. I actually went to Chicago Q up there in the Gold Coast. Have you ever been there? It's a rib spot. I love that place. It's like off of Dearborn and Division and Dearborn, that is.
Ooh.
And it's their barbecue spot that me and my mom were just there over the summer. I go there all the time. But they have fried alligator.
Oh, see, I like fried. I also had like an alligator gumbo when I worked at this place called that soup place.
Yeah.
Not around anymore, but they did alligator gumbo. It was really good. That's the first time I tasted it.
That's fire. I mean, I can see that being good. I like gumbo in general. We are so off topic.
Oh, completely.
So, hope you enjoyed it. Last episode, next episode's last episode. I'll see you all in 2 weeks. I'm going to just say it flat out. Not because I'm high, but because
in 2 weeks
I need time. We'll see it 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Or see it. The fuck? Listen to it.
So you'll be slightly off.
I'll be off by a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got this episode. You got a bonus episode this week. You got double back to back.
I did, and also I just didn't realize that Labor Day was.
I just can't believe Labor Day is this week.
Because I would, and you know, I got to get a new car too. I got to do that like Saturday.
Oh,
so yeah, there's a few things happening.
Oh, I got a story to tell you after we get off here about.
Okay, all right. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Go enjoy your life. Bye.
Enjoy your weekend.